Hello. In 1822, Franz Schubert started work on his Symphony No. 8 in B minor. Actually, it's sometimes referred to as his Symphony No. 7, but more of that later. He never got round to finishing the work. Two completed movements are all we have of what some people think is the first symphony of the Romantic era. We simply call it his unfinished symphony. And though it was never completed, it's become a big concert and recording favourite. So this programme is about the unfinished symphony, but as it's a work that lasts only around half an hour or so, I'll play a number of other works that are associated with it. So let's start with a simple question. Why was this work never completed? Well, there's a theory that it was in the autumn of 1822, while he was working on the symphony, that Schubert became aware of having syphilis. Within months of the first symptoms becoming apparent, he was so physically and mentally unwell that he simply couldn't leave his home. So perhaps his health caused him to halt work on the symphony. There's another theory though. Maybe he was distracted by his work on his fantasy in C major, the Wanderer fantasy as it's become known. Maybe it was a combination of both these factors. There's also a suggestion that Schubert called a halt to writing the symphony because he saw too much of Beethoven in the first two movements and he didn't want people to think that the work was derivative in any way. Oh, and there's another suggestion too, and it's unlikely but not impossible, and that is that he simply forgot about it. Schubert was notoriously absent-minded and he wasn't well organised at all. He left lots of bits of scores lying around. He was prone to leaving works unfinished. In fact, although we have a work we now know as the Unfinished Symphony, Schubert began 13 symphonies and finished only 7 of them. Numbers 1 to 6 were what might be regarded as youthful examples produced in the main when he was a teenager. And among his other significant unfinished symphonies, I beg your pardon, is what's generally known as the 7th, for which he sketched out parts of all 4 movements. There's also a 10th symphony that survives only as a piano sketch. Schubert was working on this when he died. So in the 10 years of life left to him after he completed his 6th symphony, he completed only one more, the Great C Major, which is now known as the 9th. But it's the Wanderer theory for why he didn't complete his 8th symphony that's given most credence these days. This is a work for solo piano and was certainly a composition that would have consumed a lot of time and energy. It's considered to be the most technically demanding of his works for solo piano. But anyway, I think it's time we hear some music, and we'll start with the first movement of Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. The work is strange, I think, from the off. Early romantic symphonies tend to start with some energy and with a self-confident theme, and this symphony doesn't. Someone once wrote that it opens with a ghost. And so it starts with rising and falling cellos and basses, and the single hushed melodic line gives way to shivering violins and then a plaintive melody with oboe and clarinet. And so begins this powerful drama that's mysterious and a tad ghostly, I think. And the whole thing, as you'll hear, ends with a return to the movement's somewhat sombre opening. So let's hear it. This, by the way, is Günter Wand conducting the Cologne Radio Symphony Orchestra. That was the first movement of Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. The second movement, and more of the story of the symphony, well, I'll tell you that something about all that in video number 2. Thank you.